Howdy, partner. Welcome to the frontier. The land of the free, the home of the brave. You probably picture yourself as Clint Eastwood right now, don't you? Squinting into the sun, a revolver on your hip, riding a majestic stallion into a golden sunset. It's romantic. It's heroic. It's absolute rubbish. Let's correct that mental image. You are not a hero. You are a homeless, itinerant laborer. First, take a whiff. That isn't the smell of freedom. That is the smell of 1,000 cows, mixed with your own unwashed body. In the Wild West, nobody bathes. Water is scarce, and soap is a luxury you didn't pack. You wear the same wool clothes, yes, wool, in the desert heat for weeks, maybe months. They are stiff with sweat, grease, and dust. And that majestic horse, it hates you. It's not a pet, it's a tool, and a temperamental one at that. You don't ride off into the sunset. You spend 14 hours a day in the saddle, your thighs rubbed raw, your spine compressed by the constant jolting, breathing in the dust kicked up by the herd. We call it cowboying. You should call it chronic back pain and lung disease. Hollywood tells you that you'll spend your days fighting bandits. In reality, you will spend your days fighting boredom and cows. Cows are stupid, dangerous animals that panic at the sound of a sneeze. If a stampede starts, and it will, you aren't thinking about glory. You are praying you don't get trampled into a red paste by 2 tons of beef. So, forget the revolver. Your most important tool isn't a gun, it's a shovel. Because you'll be digging a lot of latrines, or graves for your friends who died of something incredibly unheroic, like a scratch from a rusty nail. Welcome to the West. But maybe you aren't a cowboy. Maybe you are a brave pioneer, taking your family west on the famous Oregon Trail. You're looking for a new life in California. Let me spoil the ending for you. You are probably going to die in Nebraska. People think the Oregon Trail is a road trip. It isn't. It is a 2,000-mile death march. You don't ride in the wagon. The wagon is for supplies, your food, your tools, your grandmother's heavy antique dresser that you will inevitably dump on the side of the road 3 weeks later. You walk. You walk next to the wagon, in the dust, for 6 months. And what kills you? It's not the Native Americans. Despite what the movies show, violent conflicts were relatively rare. No, the serial killer of the Oregon Trail is dysentery. Bad water. Poor hygiene. You drink from a stream that looks clean, but a buffalo or the wagon train ahead of you relieved themselves in it 5 miles upstream. Suddenly, you can't stop going. You dehydrate. You fever. And then, you are buried in a shallow grave by the trail, and your family keeps walking because they can't afford to stop. They say you can navigate the trail just by following the smell of rotting shallow graves. If the water doesn't get you, the accidents will. Children fall out of wagons and are crushed by the wheels. Guns go off accidentally while cleaning them. Gun safety wasn't a priority yet. People drown trying to ford swollen rivers to save a bag of flour. This isn't an adventure, darling. It's the world's longest, slowest, and dirtiest game of Russian roulette. So, you've survived the death march of the Oregon Trail. Congratulations. You have arrived at civilization, a frontier town. You see the wooden facades in the movies? They look charming, don't they? Here is the reality. The street is ankle-deep in dust during the summer and knee-deep in manure sludge during the winter. There is no sewage system. The smell of adventure you were promised is actually the smell of open latrines baking in the sun. You are thirsty. You head to the center of social life, the saloon. Push open those swinging doors. The first thing that hits you isn't the hospitality, it's the heat. It's a small, unventilated box packed with unwashed men who haven't seen a bar of soap since they left St. Louis. But look down. Watch your step. The floor is slippery. Why? Because of the spittoons. Chewing tobacco is the national pastime. Every man in this room has a wad of brown leaf in his cheek. The spittoon, a brass pot on the floor, is the target. But these men are drunk, tired, and have terrible aim. The floor is coated in a sticky, brown glaze of tobacco saliva. If you trip, you fall into it. Try not to think about that. You approach the bar. You want a drink. Whiskey, you say. The bartender slides a dirty glass toward you. Do not ask if he washed it. He dipped it in a bucket of grey water behind the bar, the same water he used for the last 50 glasses. And the whiskey? Oh, my sweet summer child. This isn't aged single malt. This is rot gut, or as the locals call it, coffin varnish or tarantula juice. Real whiskey is expensive to import. So, the enterprising saloon owner makes his own. The recipe is a chemical weapon. Start with raw, distilled grain alcohol. To give it color, add chewing tobacco, used, and molasses. To give it a kick, add red pepper and gunpowder. Yes, gunpowder. And if he really hates you, he might add a dash of strychnine, a rat poison, because in small doses, it acts as a stimulant. In large doses, well, you stop complaining about the service. You drink it. It burns. It literally strips the lining of your throat. You might go blind for a few minutes. That's how you know it's good stuff. Now, look at the corner. Do you see the community towel hanging by the bar? After men drink this poison, their beards are dripping with foam and tobacco juice. They wipe their faces on that towel. Every man in the saloon uses the same towel. Day after day. It is stiff with grime. It is a biological weapon. If one man has a cold, the whole town has a cold. If one man has trachoma, an eye infection that blinds you, congratulations, now you have it too. Hygiene isn't just neglected here, it is actively murdered. And the women, the soiled doves of the saloon, Hollywood paints them as sassy, heart of gold dancers. The reality is heartbreaking. These are desperate women in a world with zero social safety nets. They suffer from rampant venereal diseases. Syphilis and gonorrhea are as common as the cold. There are no antibiotics. Syphilis will slowly eat your brain and drive you mad over 20 years. To cope, many are addicted to laudanum, opium. Suicide rates in these towns are astronomical. This isn't a party, darling. It's a waiting room for death, fueled by poison whiskey and despair. You drank the tarantula juice. You wiped your face on the infectious towel. Now, your tooth hurts. Or maybe you took a bullet in the leg during a poker game argument over a nickel. You need a doctor. Bad news. There are no doctors. The closest thing you have is the barber. Yes, the man who cuts hair. See that red and white striped pole outside his shop? We use it today to mean haircuts. In history, red represented blood and white represented bandages. He is a sawbones. He cuts hair, shaves beards, and amputates limbs, often with the same razor. Let's start with your tooth. You have a cavity. It's agonizing. You sit in the barber's wooden chair. He doesn't have Novocaine. He has whiskey. He pours some down your throat, more poison, and maybe rubs some on your gum if he's feeling generous. Then, he picks up the turnkey. It looks like a medieval torture device, a claw on a metal shaft. Or maybe he just uses ordinary blacksmith pliers. He clamps onto your tooth. He doesn't gently wiggle it. He twists and pulls with brute force. Often, the tooth shatters. He has to dig the shards out of your gum with a dirty knife. Or, he slips and breaks your jaw. Infections from dental work are a leading cause of death. You might die simply because you had a sweet tooth. But let's say it's a bullet wound. You were shot. The bullet is lodged in your leg. The doctor arrives. He is wearing a coat stiff with dried blood from previous patients. He thinks washing it is bad luck, or simply unnecessary. He doesn't wash his hands. He has just come from the stable, handling horses. He needs to find the bullet. So, he sticks his unwashed finger directly into the bullet hole. He digs around. "I can't feel it," he says. So he uses a probe, a metal rod that he wiped on his pant leg. He fishes the bullet out. Success. But wait. He has introduced bacteria from the horse manure into your bloodstream. 3 days later, the wound smells like rotting fruit. That's gangrene. There is only one cure: amputation. He gives you a stick to bite on. For men hold you down. He takes a saw. He cuts through the flesh in seconds, then saws through the bone. To stop the bleeding, he might use a hot iron to cauterize the stump, burn it shut, or dip it in boiling pitch. The shock alone might kill you. If you survive the shock, the surgical fever, sepsis, will likely finish the job. The snake oil miracle. Maybe you want to avoid the saw. You see a wagon roll into town. A man in a fancy suit stands on the back. "Step right up," he shouts. Clark Stanley's snake oil cures rheumatism, toothache, neuralgia, and paralysis. You buy a bottle. You drink it. You feel amazing. The pain is gone. Is it magic? Is it real snake oil? No. It's mostly alcohol, mixed with cocaine, opium, and red pepper. You aren't cured, darling. You are just incredibly high. You don't feel the pain because you are drugged out of your mind. When it wears off, the pain returns, worse than before, and now you have a drug addiction to go with your gangrene. Welcome to frontier medicine. The only difference between the doctor and the assassin is that the doctor sends you a bill after he kills you. You're in town, and you've managed to avoid the doctor. But now you have a bigger problem. Someone accused you of stealing a horse. Or maybe you just looked at the cattle baron the wrong way. You think, "I want my lawyer. I want a fair trial." Oh, darling. Look around. Does this look like a place with a judicial system? There are no courts. There are no judges. There are definitely no jails. Stone walls are expensive to build. There is only vigilante justice. In the absence of law, the locals form vigilance committees. It sounds official, doesn't it? It's not. It's just an angry mob with rope. They don't care about evidence. They care about efficiency. A trial takes time. A prison costs money. You have to feed the prisoner. But a rope is cheap. And you can reuse it. Let me introduce you to the most popular judge in the West, Judge Lynch. If the mob decides you are guilty, usually after 5 minutes of shouting, they don't wait for a circuit judge who might arrive in 6 months. They take you to the nearest tree, or a bridge, or just a sturdy beam outside the saloon. Hanging isn't just punishment, it's entertainment. The whole town comes out. Men, women, children. They bring picnic baskets. They bet on how long you'll kick. It's the closest thing they have to a theater. And it's not the clean, snap your neck drop you see in movies. Professional hangmen are rare. These are amateurs. They usually mess up the knot or the drop distance. So, you don't die instantly. You slowly strangle for 10, maybe 20 minutes, dancing the air jig while the crowd cheers. Sometimes, they don't even hang you for a crime. Maybe you're just an outsider. Maybe you're an immigrant. Chinese and Mexican laborers were lynched in terrifying numbers. In the Wild West, you are innocent until proven guilty, or until the mob gets bored and finds a rope. Whichever comes first. The hanging made you hungry. Let's see what's for dinner in this culinary paradise. You enter an eating house. The menu is short: meat, bread, and coffee. Let's start with the meat. There is no refrigeration. If they killed a cow 3 days ago, that meat has been sitting in the heat. To stop it from rotting, they salt it heavily. It's like eating a leather boot that fell into the ocean. Or maybe it's fresh meat. That means it's covered in flies. The cook doesn't shoo them away. He just cooks them into the stew. Extra protein, right? But you crave vegetables. A salad. An apple. Stop dreaming. Fresh produce spoils instantly in the wagons. Unless you live next to a farm, you don't. You are eating grain and beef. This leads to the frontier's dirty little secret: scurvy. You thought only pirates got scurvy? Think again. Without vitamin C, your gums turn spongy and black. Your old wounds, scars from years ago, literally break open and start bleeding again. Your teeth loosen. And the breath. Imagine the smell of rotting flesh coming from a living mouth. That is the scent of the frontier. So, stick to the bread. If you are on the trail or in a poor camp, you are eating hardtack. It's a biscuit made of flour and water, baked until it is as hard as a brick. It can last for years. In the Civil War, soldiers were given hardtack baked for the Mexican War 20 years earlier. You can't bite it. You have to soak it in coffee or smash it with a hammer. But wait, what's inside? Weevils. Small, white maggots. They infest the flour barrels. Every biscuit is riddled with them. You have 2 choices. Throw the biscuit in your hot coffee and wait for the worms to float to the top, then skim them off. Eat them. Experienced frontiersmen eat them. They have no taste, and frankly, it's the only fresh meat you're going to get. And to wash it down, coffee. But coffee beans are expensive. So, dishonest cooks stretch the supply. They mix in chicory, burnt toast crumbs, or even sawdust. The water they brew it with is basically liquid mud, thick with alkali dust that acts like a laxative. So, you're eating wormy bricks, your gums are bleeding from scurvy, and your coffee gives you diarrhea. Bon appetit, partner. So, why did you come to this hellhole? Why endure the dysentery and the bad whiskey? Because you heard the rumors. Gold. California, 1849. They say you can just pick it up off the ground. You think you're going to be a millionaire. Spoiler alert, you are going to die broke, wet, and insane. Welcome to the diggings. It's not a romantic adventure. It involves standing knee-deep in freezing river water for 12 hours a day, bending over until your spine feels like it's snapping. And the economics? Oh, it's a scam, darling. The only people getting rich are the merchants. You find $10 worth of gold dust after a week of backbreaking labor. Great. A single egg costs $3. A shovel costs $50. A blanket costs $100. You are caught in the world's most aggressive inflation trap. You are digging up the earth just to pay the man who sold you the shovel. But the real horror isn't the poverty. It's the chemistry. How do you separate tiny flecks of gold from dirt? You use quicksilver, mercury. You mix liquid mercury with the dirt. The mercury bonds with the gold. Then, you heat it up to burn off the mercury. You inhale the vapor. Do you know what mercury poisoning does? Your teeth fall out, again. You get the shakes, uncontrollable tremors. You start drooling. And then, the madness sets in. The phrase mad as a hatter comes from mercury poisoning, and you, my friend, are the maddest of them all. So there you are, shivering in a river, hallucinating because of brain damage, holding a tiny speck of gold that won't even buy you a decent funeral. But maybe you didn't come for gold. Maybe you came to tame the land. This brings us to the darkest chapter of your bedtime story, the Native Americans. Hollywood shows you epic battles, brave cavalry charging against fierce warriors. It paints a picture of war. It wasn't a war. It was an extermination. You are terrified of being scalped, aren't you? The newspapers back east tell you that the savages are coming for your hair. Here is a reality check. The colonial governments paid bounties for scalps. Yes. The government would pay you cash for the scalp of a Native American man, woman, or child. Scalping wasn't just a savage ritual, it was a commercial transaction introduced and encouraged by European settlers to clear the land. You aren't a noble pioneer defending your home. You are encroaching on land that has been occupied for thousands of years, and the people protecting it are starving. The US Army's strategy wasn't to fight honorably. It was scorched earth. They couldn't catch the warriors, so they killed the food source. The buffalo. Millions of buffalo were slaughtered, not for meat, but just to leave the carcasses rotting in the sun, so the tribes would starve to death. If you survive the frontier, it's not because you were brave. It's because the people who lived there before you were systematically hunted, starved, and pushed onto reservations that were essentially open-air prisons. So, when you watch that sunset over your stolen farm, try to ignore the ghosts. There are a lot of them. You survived the dysentery. You dodged the doctor's saw. You didn't get scalped. But now, you are sitting in your homestead on the Great Plains. Look out the window. What do you see? Flatness. Endless, terrifying flatness. There are no trees. No mountains. No neighbors for 20 miles. Just grass. And the wind. The wind never stops. It screams through the cracks in your walls day and night. It's a constant, low-frequency torture. This brings us to the psychological killer of the frontier, prairie madness. Humans are social creatures. We need voices, faces, community. Out here, you have the cow, and you have the horizon. Depression hits first. Then, the hallucinations. People, especially the women left alone in the sod houses while their husbands were on cattle drives, would start hearing things. They would scream at the wind to stop. There are records of settlers who simply snapped. They would walk out the front door and just keep walking into the nothingness until they died of exposure. Or they would take a shotgun to their family just to end the crushing loneliness. And your house? It's not a log cabin. There are no trees, remember? You live in a soddy, a house made of bricks of dirt and grass. It's dark, it's damp, and it's alive. Snakes fall from the ceiling onto your dinner table. Bugs crawl out of the walls while you sleep. When it rains, your roof dissolves into mud that drips on your bed for days. You are living like a mole, buried in the dirt, slowly losing your mind to the sound of the wind. This isn't freedom, darling. It's solitary confinement with a view. So, here we are at the end of the trail. You wanted to be a cowboy. You wanted the adventure of the Wild West. Let's review your resume. You have no teeth, scurvy and mercury. You are addicted to opium, snake oil. You have dysentery. You are legally allowed to be murdered by a mob. You are starving. And you are hallucinating because of the wind. If you were transported back to 1870 right now, you wouldn't be the hero saving the town. You would be the corpse in the background of the scene, face down in a pile of horse manure. The Wild West wasn't a time of glory. It was a time of desperate, filthy survival for people who had no other choice. It was a graveyard that we painted gold and sold as a movie set. The reality check now: look at your life. You are probably sitting in a chair that is soft. If you are hot, you touch a button, air conditioning. If you are thirsty, you turn a tap, clean water. If you have a headache, you take a pill that actually works and doesn't contain cocaine. You have a refrigerator that keeps your food from rotting. You have a toilet that flushes the waste away instantly. You are living in a sci-fi utopia compared to the richest cattle baron of the 19th century. So, the next time you feel bored with your modern life, or you complain that the Wi-Fi is slow, remember the soddy. Remember the sawbones. Remember the tarantula juice. Be grateful for your boring, clean, safe existence. If you survived this journey without getting dysentery, please like and subscribe to History Bedtime Stories. We have many more nightmares to explore. Perhaps next time, we'll visit the radioactive glamour of the 1920s or the frozen hell of a Viking ship. Until then, go drink a glass of water, a clean one, and enjoy it. Good night, partner, and sweet nightmares.